My brothers and sisters, and my beloved confreres, a very hearty welcome to each one of you to the fifth Sunday of the liturgical year. I'm reminded of a very interesting story about a Buddhist monk. He was a senior man with a long beard. One day he was walking through the street. A group of children came across him. Remember always, children in group are dangerous. One among them asked the monk a question. Your beard is so beautiful, but I would like to know one thing. When you are on your bed to sleep, do you put this beard over the bedsheet or under the bedsheet? The monk was startled by the question of this little boy. He told him, "Give me one day, I will let you know tomorrow." That night, the monk went to the bed. As he was lying down on the bed, he put his bedsheet over him and he took his beard, put it outside, then inside, outside and inside. And this went on and on. He could never sleep anymore. The moral is very simple. Even a beard can make you lose your sleep. My brothers and sisters, why I came with this funny story? Basically because to let each one of us aware that we need to be conscious of that urge that we need to have inside of us. Francis Thompson, the poet, would say, the Hound of heaven. When I went through the readings of today, I was also reminded of this commitment that I need to have towards a possibility of my life. In the first reading from the book of Job, we hear Job crying out, "Are not the days of man on earth days of service? Are we not merely hireling upon the face of the earth?" And St. Paul, in the second reading, in his letter to the Corinthians, would say, "Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel." This is an inner compulsion, a necessity, not for an external reward, but for a conviction that I hold in my life. Every human being is to have this urge, the urge for heaven. I look at Jesus today as presented by Mark the evangelist. As you know, in these days, we are reading from the Gospel of Mark. Last Sunday, we encountered Jesus in the synagogue. His own people recognized the authority that Jesus had, but they took offense at him because he was the son of the carpenter, son of Mary, nothing different from us. Where did he possess all these knowledge then? Therefore, they did not want him to continue his preaching in the synagogue. He was ousted. Jesus is going now to the household ministry. He goes to the house of Peter, his disciple. This reminds us of the story of the first Christian community. The early Christians were not permitted to enter into the synagogue to participate in the liturgical ceremony. They were ousted from the synagogue. The master's lifestyle is followed by the disciple. They went into the household. There they celebrated the Eucharist and had that relationship with one another. Now Jesus is in the house of Peter, and there begins his apostolic ministry, starting with the members of his own household. Peter's mother-in-law was sick. And as in the case of any healing ministry of Jesus, we see here too 4 elements reflected therein. First of all, there is an instruction about the sickness. She is having fever. Secondly, there is a request to heal her. They came to Jesus and told, "She is sick." Thirdly, there is the action of the healer. Jesus goes to her, lifts her up, holding her hands. And fourthly, there is the proof of the healing. She gets up and begins to serve everyone. My dear brothers and sisters, the healing of a person by Jesus is not for himself or herself. This is to heal and to serve the humanity. The example of the mother-in-law of Peter, that she gets up and goes and serves the other, is a wonderful message for each one of us to know we receive the healing from the Lord so that we become healers in the course of time. I was very much impressed by a statement made by Mark the Evangelist in the Gospel today. Continuing with the ministry of Jesus, Mark says, in the evening at sunset. The biblical commentators would say this is a double temporal reference. In fact, it looks very funny. In the evening is the sunset. There need not be again repeated in the evening and sunset. But Mark has a specific reason for that. Evening is an extended time. But particularly at sunset, which is a shortened time, Mark clearly clarifies that the Sabbath is getting over there. And it is at that sunset that the people bring the sick people to Jesus for healing. The Lord who respects the law of the man is also equally beyond the laws. He heals the humanity just like a physician, but in difference to human physicians who are specialized in one or the other area of the human organisms, Jesus, the complete and holistic healer, heals them physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Again, Mark comes back with another statement of double temporal reference. He says, in the morning, when it was still dark, Jesus gets up and goes to pray. In the morning hour is up to the noon. But when it was still dark, which means early in the morning, Jesus goes to pray. Irrespective of the fact that he had been working so hard, perhaps even late in the evening, Jesus does not cancel his personal prayer. Very often, when we are tired of very many things with our activities, one thing that we calculatively cancel off is our interaction and relationship with God. Jesus, the Son of God, knew the important and primary aspect of a person's life. Relationship with God is your strength. And what happens there where he is praying? Peter and his companions come to him urgently and tells him rather in an admonishing manner, Lord, they are all waiting for you, which means stop your prayer now and come back. Jesus is giving the disciples a message here. When you are handsome, when you are healthy, when you have power and authority, you think that you do not need God. I shall not go to these people. I have come to preach the gospel to the whole humanity. The diktat and the emotional reactions of the early disciples are symptoms of our humanity today. When we are powerful, healthy, and handsome, we forget God. We need to return to the original idea that God is needed for me every moment of my life. Become a hound of heaven. Amen.